Hello! It looks like winter is really trying to hang on outside. And for those of us who are from farming and ranching backgrounds, we know that this time of year is a very important time of year. It's the time of year where we get our tools and equipment ready for the next growing season. Hi and welcome to allthingsexterior.org. Just a few little pruning tips that I want to bring your way. It is the tail end of the winter. We here in the Okanagan are about 2 to 3 weeks away from the startup of the pruning season. So it's a good time to take out your tools and check to make sure that you've got a good clean bite. This is the pruning pole, and one of the things you want to look for is to make sure you don't have a buildup of gum and sap from last year on your pole. You want to make sure that you've got a good tight spacing between the blade and the actual pole material itself. If your equipment has too much of a gap, you run the risk of not getting a clean cut and doing damage to your tree. The same thing applies to your pruning blocks. You want to take a look and make sure that as they close, you cannot see space between the two blades. Again, checking to make sure your blades are clean, there's no burrs on them, no chips, and you want to make sure they're clean of sap and gum from last season. Again, the same thing applies to your little hand pruning snips. You're going to look for a gap or a space and make sure these things get cleaned up. Now you can use an SOS pad from your kitchen for that purpose. You can use lacquers and thinners. I try to stay away from lacquers and thinners simply because when it comes time for me to use these on a tree and I'm making a fresh cut, I don't want to be introducing any chemical residue to the tree if it's not absolutely necessary. Now, when you're doing your pruning equipment, there's another tool that you might as well do at the same time. And that's your hand shears, or growing up, these were the hedge trimmers that we often used when we had to do hedges manually. Again, you're looking for burrs in your blades that might need to be filed out or smoothed out. You want to look for a buildup of residue. You also want to look to make sure you've got a good tight clearance between your blades. It's roughly the same kind of equipment as far as the cleaning methods being used, even though you might not use these so much for pruning. Now, one final tip as you get your equipment ready for your pruning season, a lot of people will oil their equipment with 3-in-1 oil or regular motor grade oils. They work, but I want you to think about something. If you're putting a cut on a tree where the sap is flowing on that tree, do you want to introduce to that tree petroleum products? What we use, and it works quite well, although we have to apply it a bit more frequently, is cooking oil, PAM aerosols. They work great for that purpose. Here in the Okanagan, we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from the startup of the residential pruning season. Some people ask us, what trees do we prune first? There's a saying that goes around here, the harder the fruit, the earlier the pruning. That's why many orchards have already started pruning in the fall, trees such as pears and apples. In the next few weeks, and very few weeks, cherries will start to come due for pruning, as well as the plums, the peaches, and the other fruits. It's not too late for apples, not too late for pears. You want to look for a daytime temperature of 1 degree or warmer, no colder, and you want to make absolutely sure that your branches are not frozen. If you prune frozen branches, you run the risk of creating damage to your tree. Allthingsexterior.org is here in Kelowna, and we service Kelowna, West Kelowna, and Lake Country. So if you have any needs, or if you have challenges with your trees and you don't know who to call, give us a shout, 250-869-5349. That information is included in the video description below. Enjoy the rest of your winter season as you get ready for the garden to come alive.